My Anzac forces are getting Abrams. Australians get the M1A1 in the NATO Forces book, and I'm keen to add them to my force. Plus, heavy tanks have just gotten cheaper with the recently announced dynamic points adjustments for Team Yankee. But today's plan is to convert my basic M1A1 kits into Australian service M1A1 AIM-SA with the help of some 3D parts. Stick with me to see how that goes. Australian M1 tanks are M1A1 AIM, older M1 tanks remanufactured to as-new condition with upgraded electronics but lacking depleted uranium armour. Abrams replaced the Leopard AS1 in Australian service in 2007 with 59 gun tanks and 7 M88 Hercules recovery vehicles. Australia loves stowage. Our tanks always get extra stowage bins. In this case, there's an extension fitted behind the existing Bustle storage rack. Later Abrams variants also have an APU, an auxiliary power unit. This generator unit provides electrical power to the tank systems and charges the batteries without having to run the main engine. Australian tanks carry the APU unit in the main Bustle storage rack, just to the left of the wind sensor. And our last modification is the Trailblaza Fridge, mounted in the Bustle Rack on the right. No one wants to fight the enemy while drinking warm beer. So let's look at the 3D models. These were created by a long-time channel viewer who kindly let me have a go at printing them. The stowage basket extension is pretty simple, just a platform with steel slats that will glue onto the back of the existing kit Bustle. The little platforms on the side are jerry can holders. I have seen these with cut-down jerry cans being used as rubbish bins by their crews. This is what they look like supported and printed. I printed 4 because that's the maximum number of M1s my Anzacs can field. The racks came out pretty well. You can see I did have one slat that failed to print correctly, but that will still work fine. The parts are pretty thin, and there's some slight bending and warping, but again, nothing that will stop them being used. I'm not a very experienced 3D printer, and these are good enough for me. Next up are the fridges and APUs. Here's what the 3D models look like supported and ready to print. Again, I'm printing 4 sets. These models have some nice detail, but I think some of it is a bit delicate for 15mm. We'll see how much of it you can still see when the parts are printed and painted. They did come out okay. Again, some very slight warping and bulging, but perfectly serviceable for my tanks in 15mm. Both these prints were quick, about 30 minutes for the stowage racks and 41 minutes for the APU and fridges. That makes this a very quick project. Again, I used Chitubox to do the supports before slicing the files in Anycubic Photon Workshop and printing them on my Anycubic Photon Mono. Now the printing's done, time to glue everything together. The APU goes in the M1A1 kit's plastic bustle rack on the left side of the vehicle, near the wind sensor. The fridge goes on the other side. Neither should be right up against the sensor. Give a little bit of clearance. Then the Bustle Rack Extension glues onto the back of the plastic bustle. It should be positioned a little lower than the existing rack, but not too much. Make sure you still have enough clearance to avoid clipping the hull as you rotate the turret. You might have to sand flat the slat supports on the rear of the plastic bustle to get the best joint possible here. The contact surfaces are pretty small. And there we have it, an Australian M1A1 AIM-SA model modified from the base Battlefront M1 Abrams kit. The bustle extension makes the turret look a lot longer, and the APU and fridge certainly fill up the storage space. I did also include some of the combat identification panels I made in a previous video. Australian troops do regularly exercise with our allies, including Americans, so it pays to be careful. Overall, I was pretty happy with this. It was a quick print that worked out really well. It's not perfect, but a lot of that is due to my inexperience with supporting and printing the models. Thanks to the viewer who gave me access to his 3D models. Unfortunately, I can't include links to these as they aren't freely available. I think he's still tinkering with them. If the models are publicly released, I'll be sure to update you all and provide links. I think my final note before I go is to mention Team Yankee dynamic points. Battlefront have released a proposal PDF aimed at rebalancing some of the points in the game. The proposal PDF was released just a couple of days ago, but in general terms, tanks are cheaper and AA units have become more expensive. So in my force, the 4 Abrams I was planning originally come in at 51 points. You can see that on forces here. Under dynamic points, that would drop to just 36 points, a 15-point reduction. That's pretty significant. Adam and I and our new presenter Ben will be discussing the dynamic points for Team Yankee on a table-ready live stream this week, so if you're interested, tune in live and join the discussion. Thanks for watching. See you next time.